It's the Go Gopher Podcast with Mike Grimm, episode number 140. I am Mike Grimm, voice of the Golden Gophers, and welcome back to our podcast. We're talking hockey this week, as believe it or not, college hockey season is upon us. The Gopher women's hockey team is ranked third in the country in the preseason polls, and highly successful head coach Brad Frost has his team on the road and opening the season at Connecticut on Friday night. Game 2 will be on Saturday. Brad Frost will be my guest here in episode 140, and we have a great conversation all set up. Our Go Gopher podcast is presented by alumni-owned Sunbelt Business Advisors and True North Mergers and Acquisitions. If you're a business founder planning to exit your business, start by contacting Sunbelt Business Advisors and True North Mergers and Acquisitions. Sunbelt serves more businesses up to $5 million in revenue than anyone, and True North M&A serves companies with revenues up to $150 million. Get it confidential, no cost, no obligation business valuation started today. Make the most of your life's work. Visit sunbeltminnesota.com or tnma.com today. Affinity Plus Federal Credit Union is also a big sponsor of the Go Gopher podcast. Life math is complicated, and Affinity Plus Federal Credit Union makes it easier with local financial experts available to help in person or virtually. Go to affinityplus.org/Go Gophers for more info. And in true hockey vernacular, score your goals. They're happy to make the assist. Longtime Gopher sports supporter Cub is a proud sponsor of the Go Gopher podcast with Mike Grimm. In a hurry? Don't worry, Cub delivers. Get fresh meat, produce, everyday essentials, and more delivered to your door. Cub's the official grocer of the Golden Gophers and proud to support Gopher athletics for over 20 years. We're podcasting episode 140 from the Aquarius Home Services studio. We also invite you to subscribe to the Go Gopher podcast. It's free to subscribe and free to listen at any time. In fact, you can go back and listen to previous Go Gopher podcast as well. Last episode, for example, we had an outstanding visit with NBC sportscaster Noah Eagle, who's the television voice of Big Ten Saturday Night and who did the play-by-play of last week's Minnesota Golden Gopher football game. This week, we're talking Gopher women's hockey with outstanding head coach Brad Frost. He's won 4 national championships, and he'll join me next.
I'm Clay Geary, walk-on turned scholarship wide receiver for Gopher football.
And I'm Ben Utek, U of M alumni, Super Bowl champion, and Tony Dungy Uncommon Award winner.
We understand championship culture, which is why we're part of the True North family of companies.
True North invests in only elite teams, like the champion team at Sunbelt Business Advisors, Minnesota's largest seller of companies. To learn more about True North and our diverse family of independently owned companies, visit TrueNorthEquityPartners.com.
When we say that Cub milk is the freshest in town, we mean it. Less than 48 hours from farm to store fresh. We guarantee 7 days or more of freshness. It all starts with local dairy farmers who take great care in making sure all the cows are happy and healthy. We support local farm families 365 days a year. And that makes our milk even more delicious. So you always get the freshest milk and the biggest smiles.
It's episode number 140, and we are talking Golden Gopher women's hockey. Brad Frost, the head coach, 18th season as the head coach. Time flies.
It really does. This is year 25 with the program,
Right.
But 18 as the head coach. So, yeah, it feels like it's in the blink of an eye.
Yeah. Well, good to see you.
You as well.
Hard to imagine. Maybe not for you because, it's your life and this is what you do. For others like us who are trying to put our toes into everything, it's like hockey's starting. Yeah, hockey's starting. You open the season Friday at UConn.
Yeah, we do against a very good UConn team. They're a top 10 team. They made the NCAA tournament last year, and so you just get thrown right into the fire and off we go. But really looking forward to it. This time happens every year where the weather hasn't quite turned yet.
Yeah.
There's no snow on the ground. The leaves are barely even fallen, and we're off and running, playing some hockey. Probably the longest season in all of the NCAA sports. It's from now until the end of March, hopefully, and it's a long time together.
And not to get already off track, but I do that sometimes. Do you like the season this long? If you could wave a magic wand, would you like to shrink it? Would you like to, I don't know what's good or not good for you and the athletes, but what do you think?
Well, I think what's hard is that in the WCHA, we have 8 teams. We play those 7 other teams 4 times, so it only allows for us to have 6 non-conference games. So really that's 3 weekends throughout the year, obviously starting with Connecticut here, Boston University next week, and then we host a little East-West showcase in January. So I don't know if you can shrink it much more, but the good news is that right as exams are about to start, we take a break and then bring them back right after Christmas. And so the players and staff kind of get a 2-week break in there, which is definitely nice.
I suppose one way is if you just shrunk the number of games, right? Just say, hey, let's eliminate, instead of playing everyone 4 times, play everybody 3 and alternate. If we play you twice at home this year, we'll play you once at home next year. But maybe players want to play all these games.
Well, I think players certainly want to play all these games. As coaches, we like it as well. And having a balanced schedule is much better than an unbalanced schedule. And it would take people a long time to figure out how to play some teams 3 times and some teams 4. So I think we're kind of in that soft spot right now in regards to where we're at, and it's 2 games a week, and you just you play, you take a day off and start focusing on the next one. And that's why the season ends up going so fast, in my opinion, is because you're always, once you complete your series, you're focused on the next one.
Into the next. Yeah, the old saying, right, that the days are long, but the weeks fly by as fast as you can imagine. Like each day seems like it's taken forever. All of a sudden you're like, damn, it's Friday again. Right? I mean,
no doubt. And I even think that, I don't know, maybe it's because I'm getting old, but the days are flying by too. True. Everything seems to go a lot quicker here these days. But that's fun too. Opportunity to look to the next.
All right, so how has the training camp gone? And tell us, too, you jump right into it. How long? I mean, obviously, nowadays, athletes are working out in the summer, and they're trying to stay in shape, and some of your athletes are playing in international competition, all that stuff. So it's probably different than maybe it was years ago, where athletes would go home in the summer, and you were just keeping your fingers crossed when they got back, they were in shape. So how long is really the training period here, I guess, training camp?
Yeah, basically, for us as coaches, once exams happen in May, we are not allowed to really have any contact with them in regards to being on the ice with them, making it mandatory that they're working out, things like that. But, having so many Minnesota kids, most of them, continue to live on campus, or they'll head home for a little bit, but they're on campus working out. We do have a lot of international players. There was an international tournament right before the start of school. That first week of school, we just have meetings. They have some captains practice. Then we get on the ice with them a little bit the following week, and we've now been practicing for about 2 weeks. And we'll complete our practices here and head out to UConn.
Yeah, I've always marveled at hockey. It's like, practice a week, maybe 2. Oh, and here's your start of the schedule, where you've got these high-end NFL professional players that need 5 weeks of training camp and OTAs and all this stuff to play a preseason game,
right? And
then another preseason game. And you hockey people are like, now we're gonna work out for a week or 2 and let's get to it.
We're a little nuts, but we all know that.
You mentioned UConn. Give us a little preview on them. Connecticut, you mentioned a tournament team last year. So how much can you base your prep this week, or have you based your prep this week on what you saw last year and analyzing that stuff?
Yeah, they're a pretty consistent team, so we've been able to look back at our games against them last year, as well as their games towards the end of the year and in the tournament. And they're a very structured group. They were one of the best defensive teams in the country. They take very few penalties. So you don't get the advantage on the power play very often. They're well coached and a big, strong, fast team, and so we're gonna have to work for it, certainly, and hopefully come out on top. But anything can definitely happen here early on.
On game week, this first one, now you're ready. You get to see kind of what all this work has meant. So you like the team, it sounds like. You like your group. So tell me just generally about the Golden Gophers here.
Well, last year we made the NCAA tournament. We lost in the quarterfinals in 4 overtimes to get to the Frozen Four. So that one still kind of stings. But we returned all of our forwards. So the only graduating forward was going to be Audrey Wethington, and thankfully she came back back for her 5th year. We've got a couple freshmen, Anela Puppy and Kendra Disted, who are up front from Minnesota here, but we were also able to get a transfer from Vermont. She's a Czech kid, Nat Mlinkova, and she was the Hockey East Player of the Year last year. And so adding her to our lineup has given us more scoring depth, and we're excited about her and what she brings. The biggest change is probably on our blue line. We graduated 4. We brought 4 freshmen in plus 2 transfers. Our transfers are Krista Parkinen, a Finnish player from Vermont, and Sydney Morrow, who played at Shattuck but was an All-American out at Colgate University last year. And is part of the U.S. national team as well, plus a couple really, really impressive freshmen in Gracie Graham and Chloe Primerano. So, we're I would say more experienced, in particular on the blue line because of those transfers, and we've got a shot. Skylar Vetter in net. We also have a great goaltender from Canada, Hannah Clark, and so we feel like we're a deep team, skilled team, and now we just have to put it all together.
And then you mix transfers, freshmen, returning players. What is the challenge there and maybe you'll find even more as these first few games will help determine that. But how do you try to mix this so that you're ready to go when the puck drops from you?
Yeah, overall it's been really positive. I just think the culture of our group is one that's very inclusive. They're very accepting of other people. They want to win too, right? And so the better players we bring in, the more excited they are about it. And a lot of these players, of course, end up knowing each other through different tournaments and games and camps and things like that. So overall, that's been pretty seamless. And now it's just getting those newer players up to speed on how we want to play.
We went through that preview. We didn't mention Abby Murphy, who led the country in goals last year. Was there thought that she might not be back and try to go pro, or did you know you'd have her the whole time?
Yeah, I think this year we knew that she was going to come back. I think the question could be next year, and we haven't talked a lot about it.
She has another year.
She actually still has another year because of COVID and because of the Olympics. So. Right. We'll see kind of where that goes for her and what she wants to do. Next year is the Olympic year as well, and so with the addition of the PWHL, Canada and U.S. are no longer going to be centralizing their players. They're going to allow them to play in the PWHL. And so what does that mean for the college kids? Does it make more sense to stay with your program and be taken every month to prepare for the Olympics, or go to the PWHL and train there? So some question marks there, but as far as this year, we were ecstatic that we were going to have Murph back.
Yeah, and she was a guest on the podcast during the season last year. Awesome. Just her philosophy and her story. I really enjoyed talking to her, and I know you've talked about the fact that she's an aggressive player, and she, I guess, a little better stayed out of the penalty box, right? But while also maintaining that edge, I guess, that makes her such a great player.
Yeah, and that's who she is. I think last year, she was treated a little unfairly as well in regards to some of the calls that were made on her. I do feel like there were certain eyeballs on her constantly, and it's really hard to play her style when eyeballs are on her all the time like that. And so I know she's excited about a clean slate this year. I am too for her. And, she wants to continue to play with that edge, but she also wants to be on the ice as much as possible. And so she has that desire, and I think we're going to see that more this year.
Yeah, it was fun in talking to her. I remember asking her about it, and she's like, I don't think I'm going to change. I mean, I'm just going to be who I am. Hopefully, I'm maybe she said it, smarter, but she goes, if I'm not aggressive, I'm not going to be who I am on the ice.
Yeah, and she's a unique women's hockey player. There's guys hockey players like that, of course, Brad Marchand and Corey Perry, and some of these guys. A lot of people compare her to Pat Micheletti. I never saw Pat play, being from Canada, but very skilled, very good, yet playing with an edge, and I think, unfortunately, that turns some people off, in women's hockey. But she plays aggressively. She's not cheap, and it's it helps her be who she is and helps her be as effective as she is.
Yeah. Goaltending, you mentioned goaltending. You like that. I mean, you got some veteran presence there, it looks like. Take me through your thoughts on goaltending.
Skylar Vetter is, returning for her senior year. I think she's played over 60 or 70 games in her career. So, I know she's excited about a big year for her. And, if you're going to have a chance to win, you've got to have the goaltending. It's just, we feel like we've got depth at every position, and the goaltender position is one of those too. And so Hannah Clark is a former U18 goalie for Team Canada, just like Skylar was back in the day for the U.S. And so they both come with a ton of accolades, and excited to see both of their growth here throughout the year and them giving us an opportunity to win. You have, as you mentioned, Connecticut this week, Friday, Saturday, then hosting Boston, so a couple of non-conference, and then WCHA. You guys, they're not wasting any time in seeing how good you guys are going to be. Wisconsin and Ohio State. I don't remember which order, but Ohio State, Wisconsin. I think. Yeah. So you'll have a pretty good idea about a month from now as to kind of where you sit, right? For sure. And our league is so tough too. It's not just them. True. Duluth just played Ohio State and swept them last weekend, and St. Cloud is a top 10 team now, and so when you have five teams in the WCHA in the top 10, oftentimes 1, 2, and 3, 5 and 9, like it's every weekend is a grind and a challenge, but that's what makes our league so great. It's one of the reasons why WCHA teams generally win the national championship, and hopefully that's us here at the end of the year this year. Yeah. So I want to ask you about Ohio State, because they're on a pretty decent little 4-year stretch here. Mm-hmm. I think in the national title game, three in a row, right? Yep. 3 years in a row, yep. They've won 2 of them. So I think even last year at one point you said there is a gap. They are the best team in the country, and if they play well, they're probably going to win the title, but we want to all try to punch them in the nose and beat them. What's your assessment of them this year, and how does everyone close the gap, and all of a sudden you're on even ice, so to speak? Yeah, I mean, the gap is certainly closed, and even last year they were one of the better collegiate women's hockey teams that I had seen in my 25 years, and so they were incredibly deep. They had 8 players from last year's team drafted to the PWHL to go pro, and so they've been hit pretty hard. They still have some incredible players, and will still, I would imagine, be there and in the end as well. Wisconsin is uber talented. I think they have 7 U.S. national team players on their team. Obviously, we've got many Olympians, from Europe, Murph, Sydney Morrow, and of course Chloe Primerano on the Canadian side. And so, we're all kind of stacked. It's going to be incredible hockey here this year, and I feel like whenever we play, the Wisconsins, the Ohio States, like flip a coin, who's going to get the goaltending, who's going to get the breaks, who's going to get the bounces, the luck, those types of things. And, you just want to be there to give yourself an opportunity. And if everything goes right, then everything goes right. Then you get an opportunity. And just in general in sports, let alone hockey, there are ebbs and flows, right? Where you get a great recruiting class and maybe stack it with another, and you saw your 6-year stretch where you're winning 4 national titles. So there's just generally ebbs and flows with a game where you're seeing roster turnover every year, certainly, but like if you catch a couple of really good classes, then there's really roster turnover at some point. Yeah, right. No doubt. I mean, you look at us into last year. We had a lot of players in some spots that hadn't been there because we had just graduated 11 players. Right. Taylor Heisey, Grace Sumwinkle, Abby Barine, like players that were, that are winning Walker Cups now. Yes, top end players that are playing professional, right? Yeah. So it took us a little while to kind of find our identity and figure out who we were going to be, but we still had an incredible year last year, and we were 1 goal away from heading to the Frozen Four and giving ourselves a chance. So speaking of Frozen Fours, it's at Ritter Arena here this year, and I'm sure we were maybe going to talk about that, but really excited about that. It's always great, right? As well. Because then you've got, let's face it, you get to it, now you've got some
built-in edge here that you can take advantage of.
Yeah, I mean, we went undefeated in 13, and when we went 41-0, and that was at Ritter. And a couple of years later, 2015 was at Ritter again, and just seeing the excitement around the state of hockey, and the amount of people that were there to Ritter was just busting at the seams, and
great.
It was really fun.
They're ticket scalpers.
They were scalping tickets, yeah, which was amazing. Yeah. So hopefully that happens again. Obviously, we need to do our part and get there, but it is something to look down the road at and say, man, that would just be amazing if we could get there.
A real quick sidebar too, in terms of that stretch run. Last time I saw you in person was at the Hall of Fame, the M Club Hall of Fame, and Amanda Kessel was one of the honorees. And now we're getting to the point in the program that's established that I'm thinking they do this now every 2 years, that you're probably going to have a player. With all the success and all the great players, you're going to be a weird year that you're not going to have a player going over the next run, right?
I would think so. I mean, there's several players that were All-Americans, 3-time national champions, U.S. national team players that Hannah Brandt, the leading scorer, of course, in all of Gopher women's hockey, and Lee Steckline, 1-3, Kelly Pan. We've had a multitude of players, Danny Cameronese. So I would imagine we'll start seeing some of those names pop up here.
And I should know, I don't know. I was there that night, certainly, but I don't know the eligibility. Like, do you have to wait a certain number? But I would think whatever those hit, some of those ladies you just mentioned are going to be first ballot honorees here, right?
I would think so. I mean, it's there's not too many players or too many athletes that have won multiple national championships here at the U. I think it is 10 years. So
is it
something along those lines? So that's why Kess was inducted here.
Very good. All right, let me talk about a sponsor real quick of our Go Gopher podcast. Affinity Plus is your local credit union, and they proudly serve Minnesota, have been doing it since 1930. If you're a current Gopher student or a proud Gopher alum, you're eligible to join this financial that wants to build a meaningful banking relationship and put you first. You can meet with a local employee at any of their branches statewide, including one right here near campus on University here in Minneapolis. To learn more and find other ways to connect, visit affinityplus.org/Go Gophers. That's affinityplus.org/Go Gophers. Affinity Plus Federal Credit Union, federally insured by NCUA. Great products, support, and people, and that is a banking hat trick. So we thank them, as always, for their support. Gophers this week, as we mentioned, start with Connecticut Friday and Saturday, a road series to start the year. Brad Frost with us here, episode 140. We've talked a little about the new Pro League, and aside from some of the turmoil, which we won't hit on in this podcast, within the team, Minnesota ends up winning the championship. You have some former players on that team. How much fun was that to watch and see just people embracing women's hockey the way it happened?
I thought I'm not sure the PWHL could have done a better job in rolling out that league. To see 13,000, 14,000 at Minnesota games, I think they probably averaged 6,000 or 7,000. In Ottawa, they were selling out all the time. Toronto selling out. Boston doing really, really well. Also Montreal. So, to see, you always wonder, okay, when a true professional league comes into play, a sustainable league where these young women are getting paid a fair wage, they're getting benefits, things like that. Like, what's that going to look like? Is anyone going to show up? And from a marketing and advertising standpoint, obviously the players and the league itself, I thought did an incredible job, and it was really, really fun to follow and watch these players. One of the great things too is just having Cal Dietz as our strength coach. Yeah. One of the best, literally one of the best in the world. So many of those PWHL players and national team players are in the weight room, weekly with our players, and again, our players are able to look at them and communicate with them, and kind of see how they just go about their business as professional athletes. And a lot of our former alums who are playing professional hockey, they need to figure out what it's like to be a pro now, right? And okay, how do I treat my body? How do I prepare for games? This is my job. And so on the men's side, it's kind of natural to progress into that. On the women's side, it's finally happening. So it's really exciting to watch.
And how much does that help? This is maybe a more general philosophical question, but just I forgot the term you used, stable, maybe, in terms of what the because there's been some pop-up different things where an athlete might have to, I'm just going to make it up, sell insurance or deliver DoorDash while they're also trying to play pro hockey. Where now, and they still could do that, I suppose, but now this is an opportunity that they can be hockey players and hockey players. So how important is that part of it?
Oh, it's huge. I mean, you think of, like, there are many people that have tried to put leagues together and teams together, and Minnesota Whitecaps and the NWHL and the PHF and CWHL and all these, like, it's super admirable of what these people tried to do for women's hockey, because so many players would graduate, and if they wanted to continue to train for the Olympic team, they were out, purchasing ice with 3 other players so they could get out and train a couple times a week. Winnie Brodt, her dad Jack Brodt put the Minnesota Whitecaps together and helped form that NWHL originally to give athletes a place to play and a place to train. Now that they have the funding of Mr. Walter, who owns part of the Dodgers, and they have the money, now all of a sudden they can pay these players a wage where they don't have to work and do other things. Obviously, the salary cap is what it is, and so some are making some pretty good money, some are making okay money, and they might have to do something else as well. But it's a really, really big deal, and the opportunity to be able to just be a hockey player is great.
Yeah, and how big of an honor do you feel it is that they named the team after you here?
You know what? I'm super excited and a little upset all at the same time. I didn't receive a T-shirt. I haven't received nothing. No.
Royalties?
No royalties. They didn't ask my permission. None of that stuff. But obviously that was pretty cool. I've already looked at some merch to see if I should probably order some for my kids so that they can wear it around.
The Minnesota Frost.
Yeah,
that's awesome. That's awesome.
It's a good has a good ring to it.
Yeah. You mentioned your kids. So again, on a sidebar, how old are they now, and are they involved in sports and hockey and those kind of things too? Yeah,
so my oldest, Micah, just graduated from Grand Canyon University, and he was a sport management major. He tried to get into the sports world full time and wasn't able to do that, so he's doing a couple different jobs, but he does work for the Arizona Cardinals as kind of a lead suite manager, clubroom manager on Sundays, and so he's really enjoying that. Getting married, actually. He's 22, getting married in December. So
how about that?
We got a wedding coming up. Our middle boy, Jonah, is 20, and he's in his last year of school down at Grand Canyon University as well. They like the warmth and
warm
getting
weather.
away from the cold. And then our youngest, Josiah, he's a senior in high school at New Life Academy.
Yeah.
So he's a golfer. New Life Academy actually is co-oping with South St. Paul this year for hockey. So he's actually taken the last 2 years off and is coming out of retirement and dusting the goalie pads off.
Oh, goalie, yeah,
he's
nice.
a goalie. So he'll be trying out for that team, and hopefully he can make it and have some fun here this year.
Now, did a couple of sons of a hockey coach get a chance at Grand Canyon University to enjoy that basketball setting that's like one of the best in the country now, right?
Yeah, they love it. I mean, from what we've been told, the Havocs, they're called, GCU Havocs, the student section, that behind the Cameron Crazies at Duke, they've been rated the next best student section, and so they camp out at night and get tickets, and they absolutely love being a part of that. They don't have football down there, but they do have big-time sports, and basketball is one of them.
Yeah, if people are listening and want to, I mean, there's YouTube videos of just how incredible that student section is. I mean, it is pretty remarkable. Back to hockey here. You mentioned the attendance for the Minnesota team, which we call the Minnesota Frost now. They hit 13,000, 14,000 a couple of times, like you say, average. Is there anything And again, you're the head coach of the Gophers, so I don't know how much marketing you want to be involved in. But is there anything you can learn from them? Because even at the Gophers level at Ritter Arena, I'm sure you'd love to see more fans, right?
Absolutely.
Is there stuff you can learn from them in terms of how they've strategized and marketed and created some buzz that maybe the Golden Gophers can use to, not saying that there's nobody coming to games, but to boost it a little bit,
right,
and increase awareness of that stuff?
Certainly, it's a fickle thing, quite honestly. You know,
Right.
We average about 2,000 or just over 2,000 a game for our bigger opponents of Ohio State, Wisconsin. Oftentimes we're selling out 3,000, 3,500 standing room and things like that, which is great. I would love to see that every game. You know, they've done a great job with the youth programs here in Minnesota, which, of course, you know, the Gophers do a great job with that too. Our major fan base is these young girls, their teams, these groups, and you know, our tickets are cheap. I mean, group tickets are $5. Regular tickets are $10. It's a great product. You're looking at some of the best players in the world on the ice each and every weekend, and so we certainly want more. It does get difficult with all the things that are going on in Minneapolis and St. Paul. And, of course, when you're into hockey season, there's a lot of young girls that are playing on weekends.
A lot
and
of your
tournaments.
fans are in Fargo with their kids playing, right? Or
Exactly.
Whatever.
So, it's a continual thing that we're always looking at. And but definitely they've, the Frost did a great job just in a lot of their games were on Wednesday night.
That's what I was going to ask. Is there something maybe, I mean, I don't know if the WCHA, there are some close teams here. Like, would there be something where, let's play St. Cloud on a Tuesday and go up there on a Wednesday and leave the weekends? I mean, maybe your players might say, yeah, we'd love a weekend off. Sure. But would that increase attendance possibly to do a weeknight
It could,
game?
yeah. I just don't know. Again, so much of it is about the marketing and advertising and, and getting people in the building. Because I do really believe, and I've said this since day one, like if you come and watch a Gopher women's hockey game,
you'll be back.
You will be back.
Yeah.
It is. It's a tremendous product.
Yeah, it is, and I mean, it is affordable, family fun for everybody.
Yeah.
And for sure, we're looking forward to a great season here upcoming. And you mentioned the league is so tough. Can you use the Pro Hockey League as well as recruiting? Now you've got players who have won the first championship, players who are in the championship game on the other team, and the dream of these ladies you're going out to watch now that might be ninth graders, 10th graders, 8th graders. I don't know how young you start recruiting, but to say, hey, it just philosophically, it's awesome that an 8th grader, a 6th grader, a 3rd grader can now look and say, that's I want to be Taylor Heisey, right? I mean, and then 2, how do you maybe use that as a recruiting tool as well?
Well, it's all about connections, right, and communication. And so one of the great things about having the Minnesota Frost just down the street is when Boston comes in to play them on a Wednesday, we'll be talking with the Boston GM and head coach and their coaching staff, and they'll be coming to our practice to watch our players play. And then we'll talk with their staff after practice and, be able to promote our players. And, hey, this player isn't eligible just yet for the draft, but she's somebody that you're going to want to watch. This player is available. She should be pretty high on your list. And so, having the opportunity to have our players looked at from these scouts and from these other professional programs will do nothing but help us.
Yeah, very good. Well, hey, we're here. Hockey's upon us. We'll have you back on certainly, and let's take it all the way into late March here, right?
Let's do that. Game on. Thanks.
All right. Good to see you as always.
You as well.
All right. He is Brad Frost, episode 140, Go Gopher Podcast. My thanks to Gopher women's hockey coach Brad Frost, one of our favorites. Sounds like an exciting season lies ahead. Gophersports.com has all the tickets and all the information you need about Gopher women's hockey. I hope you enjoyed hearing from Frosty as much as I enjoyed chatting with him here on episode number 140, which is presented by Sunbelt Business Advisors and True North Mergers and Acquisitions. If you're buying or selling a business, visit sunbeltminnesota.com or tnma.com. We're also partnered with Affinity Plus Federal Credit Union, a locally member-owned full-service financial invested in you. You can learn more at affinityplus.org/GoGophers. Affinity Plus, banking for Minnesotans, with you for from pee-wees to the pros. And Cub is a proud supporter of Gopher Athletics for over 20 years and a proud sponsor of the Go Gopher Podcast. Cub, bigger savings on the items you love. Again, I'd invite you to listen to past podcasts, and please right now click the subscribe button to the Go Gopher Podcast. It's free to subscribe and free to listen at any time. And please share the link to the podcast with others so they can subscribe and listen as well. And if you enjoyed the podcast, please give us some positive feedback on your social media channels. We appreciate it all. We'll talk again next week.
How much can you save when you shop Cub? Let's just say you might need a bigger cart. We've lowered prices so you save more. On Essential Every Day, it's easy to see the savings. Across the aisles, from pantry products to frozen foods to delicious dairy and more. Your family will love it, guaranteed, or your money back. Shop Cub and save today. My Cub, my way. See store for details.